Hey everybody, it's Ish and I'm here with Ed.
Hey.
Later this week, I'm going to be going to Los Angeles for the Destiny 2 World Gameplay Reveal. And I was thinking with that on the horizon that me and you, since we love Destiny so much, could talk about the 5 things we want to see before they actually start showing anything. So the first thing I had on my mind was new and different subclasses. As you know, Destiny had these 3 main classes and all these subclasses, but then after a while, it pretty much boiled down to like 2 or 3 that were really worth using.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you kind of saw with Destiny 1 that a lot of the subclasses kind of were like almost like there were some PvP subclasses and then there were PvE subclasses. And I kind of would like to see all the subclasses and all the classes have utility in both. I have not so fond memories of like the original Vault of Glass where poor hunters, man, like they were like a rare breed. Like if you're a hunter, like you have to scrap for a party invite because no one really needed a blade dancer, right? In Vault of Glass.
Neither needed nor wanted.
And I think that's unfair. But yet in PvP, the blade dancer was like the one of the dominant classes for a long time, as with the gunslinger. So, and then like, you know, you want to see all the classes get utility in all the modes. That's what I want to see. What I also want to see is actually, I don't think we're going to get it. I'd be shocked if this happens. But I would like to see a whole new class as well, in addition to the Titan, the Hunter, and the Warlock.
I was actually curious about that because I was wondering how they could even pull that off. Because I think the Titan, Hunter, and Warlock really cover those usual like trends you see in RPGs. Like you can really form them with the subclasses. But if they did make a hybrid class of sorts,
I gotta imagine they will at least add a new subclass. That'd be kind of lame if they go in with like the same 9 subclasses that we've had. So I'd imagine at least one new subclass or completely different subclasses. What would you think about that if they did that?
I'm pretty sure that that's exactly what they're going to do. I don't think we're going to see our Stormcrawlers, Sunsingers, Blade Dancers, or anything of that nature anymore. Because this whole thing with the tower being destroyed and the Traveler being all wobbling on its knees, I think that's going to change how we fight.
Here's a theory. Here's a hot lore theory. Maybe
hot lore takes.
Yeah, hot lore take. Maybe like how you see with like the Last Jedi, where like you're kind of seeing like the gray side of the Force, where like maybe Luke is kind of like, oh, the dark side's not that bad, and we can kind of like just use the Force how we want and not get into this rigid dark versus light, whatever stuff. Maybe we're going to see a little like darkness get infused with subclasses, right? Maybe we're going to see some darkness-based subclasses or classes.
I would love that, to incorporate either aspects of the darkness or more aspects of the different alien races, especially since we're facing off against the Cabal, which is a super militant race who has all these cool abilities that we've never had. I think that would be freaking amazing. Speaking of all the customization with classes, I really, really want to see customizable weapons. It's something I've been asking for since day one and nobody has given it to me. You might recall us getting a taste of it with the Kvostov, where it let us change the fire rate and things of that nature. But I want to see real weapon customization, not clicking on orbs as you gain experience.
Yeah, I don't think it's a lot to ask for. I think this could be like a realistic thing that you could see. It's not something that I don't think Bungie's really known for. You never really got a taste of that in the Halo series. So it would be something a little foreign or a little new to them. Maybe we'll get a little greedy with different subclasses, but I think it'd be very realistic to say, hey, why don't we just be able to really attach all different kinds of scopes, all different types of maybe things that will change your fire rate, kind of getting a little taste of like the exotic life on regular weapons, and then making the exotic perks like really batshit crazy.
I think what would really help that system out though, like in order to really like make that into reality, would be more and better gear.
Yes, and that kind of leads me to the third thing I want to see in Destiny 2, which would be kind of like really embracing the loot craziness of other games that Destiny's inspired by, like Diablo or something like that. In that trailer that we saw a couple months ago, you kind of got a sense of like they're really going to embrace like, hey, this is a loot-driven game. We're all about loot. So I would like to see some really crazy Diablo-like gear where like maybe you get different sets and just really augments the way you play in a very different way.
I love the idea of having to switch gear and changing your attacks and changing your build according to what you happen to be wearing, and building that like perfect Stormcaller or that perfect Sunsinger, and you have all the gear that makes it what it is. Not just a random one perk that boosts something, but like it really tailors to exactly how you play. And if they do embrace that, like they've been kind of hinting at, I'm going to be a very happy person come September.
And for the fourth thing we want to see in Destiny 2 this week is that this all leads us to a end game that we can really kind of use all these different new new things in and appreciate it. So, for example, I think right now, Destiny in its current shape, Destiny 1 is in an awesome shape where you have all these different raids you can do and events and activities to keep you busy. All 4 of the major raids are now up to the current light level. There's a lot to do. I would like to see Destiny 2 kind of start at least somewhat near that instead of how it was for a long time, where you kind of had just one endgame activity or one major endgame activity, and that was it. And you kind of just were waiting around for the new raid till next mini expansion or major expansion.
I think what would really help that very endgame, though, would be doing something more single player focused or adding more single player options at the end. I do understand it's an online living world thing, but if you could play the whole story by yourself, but then to really progress, you had to play with other people. And that was something that I found a little discouraging for a lot of players. It was discouraging for me for a while, but until I could find a regular group. If you could have more end game content for those single players, that even if there is only one raid at launch, which I hope there's not, there's still something for me to sink my teeth into and get all that Diablo type gear and take advantage of those different subclasses and different customizations and things of that nature.
And finally, something we really want to see change for Destiny 2 is separating finally PvE with PvP. I get the original intent was probably like, hey, like you're building this character and it's the same no matter whether you're playing it in PvE or in PvP. But the problem is you have 2 very different bases of people who play in different modes. There are people who play both for sure, but you have the hardcore community of PvE doesn't want to suffer through PvP balance changes affecting them how they play in PvE, and vice versa. The PvP people don't want PvE-inspired changes to mess with their balance in PvP. So I think both communities would be very happy if they could be divorced a little bit.
Definitely one of those real heavy PvE players, raiding every week, Nightfall every week with all my characters. And it really sucked that the balance would just pull me out of PvE. Like, I worked so hard to get a Vex Minta class, only to get it nerfed because it killed everybody in PvP, but I never played PvP. And in keeping with the spirit of keeping PvP and PvE, I think the way the system works now for PvE is fine, but for PvP, on top of keeping their nerfs to themselves, maybe some dedicated servers.
And finally, although this is not technically one of our 5 things we want to see, I think as a big PvP fan myself, I would love to make sure, maybe not exactly the same, but I think Trials of Osiris, a non-glitchy, hackable or whatever version of Trials of Osiris is definitely something I want to see return. Trials of Osiris is still, despite how flawed it is still one of the most thrilling PvP experiences I've had in any game. It's pretty much, in theory, a really perfect event, and I want to see that come back in some shape, way, or form.
I think the separation of PvE from PvP would definitely help Trials of Osiris quite a bit, and I think that would be really cool. And I think all the things we talked about are things that are actually very realistic. But yeah, there you guys have it. That's our list of the things we want to see later this week at the Destiny gameplay reveal. Let us know if you have any ideas or anything really close to you, Heart, in Destiny that you really want them to put in the game and announce when we're there. Also, make sure to stay tuned to Twinfinite as we go to the event and we cover it live. We'll be sure to bring you all the new information and anything cool we see, as well as our impressions of the game. Thank you for watching.
Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.